The security camera footage showed everything in perfect clarity. My hands trembled as I watched my husband Gregory with another woman in our living room, on our couch, in our home. They were kissing, touching, laughing together like they owned the place. The timestamp read 3 hours ago. I could hear my daughter Brianna behind me asking what was wrong, but I couldn't speak. The words were stuck somewhere between my chest and my throat. But let me back up and tell you how I got to this moment. I had been away for 5 days on a business trip to Chicago. The conference had gone well and I was excited to get home to my family. I work as a senior project manager for a tech company, and this trip could mean a promotion. Gregory had been supportive when I left, kissing me goodbye and telling me to knock them dead. We'd been married for 15 years and I thought we were solid. The plane landed at 3 p.m., and I took a taxi home because Gregory said he'd be too busy at work to pick me up. I didn't mind. I was tired and just wanted to collapse on my own bed. When I walked through the front door at 4:30 p.m., I heard the sound immediately. Someone was crying. Not just crying, sobbing like their heart was breaking into a million pieces. I dropped my suitcase in the hallway and rushed toward the living room. That's where I found Gregory sitting on the floor, his back against the couch, his face buried in his hands. His whole body was shaking. For a second, my heart dropped. I thought something terrible had happened. Maybe someone had died. Maybe he'd lost his job. Maybe something was wrong with Brianna. Gregory? I said, rushing to him. What's wrong? What happened? He looked up at me and his face was red and swollen. Tears were streaming down his cheeks. He opened his mouth to speak, but nothing came out. He just stared at me like he'd seen a ghost. That's when I heard footsteps on the stairs. Brianna appeared, our 17-year-old daughter, looking confused and worried. She was wearing her blue school uniform, having just gotten home from volleyball practice. "Mom," she said, coming to hug me. "I just got here like 10 minutes ago. Dad was already like this. I've been trying to ask him what's wrong, but he won't talk. He just keeps crying." I looked at Gregory again. He turned away from me, covering his face. Something was very wrong, but it wasn't what I initially thought. This wasn't grief. This looked like guilt. "Brianna, honey, go upstairs and start your homework," I said, trying to keep my voice calm. "I'll talk to your father." "But Mom, what if something bad happened?" Brianna asked, her eyes wide with concern. "Just go upstairs, please. I'll come check on you in a bit." Brianna hesitated but eventually nodded and headed back upstairs. I heard her bedroom door close. I turned back to Gregory, who was still on the floor, still crying. But now I was starting to feel something different. Not concern. Suspicion. "Gregory, you need to tell me what's going on right now," I said, my voice firm. He shook his head, still not looking at me. "I can't," he whispered. "I can't tell you." "You can't tell me?" I repeated, feeling anger starting to replace my worry. "Your wife comes home and finds you like this, and you can't tell me what's wrong?" "Simone, please," he said, his voice breaking. "Just give me a minute." "No. Tell me now. What happened?" He stood up suddenly, his legs shaky. He looked at me for a long moment, and I saw something in his eyes that I'd never seen before. Fear. Pure, absolute fear. "I made a mistake," he finally said. "A terrible mistake." My heart started pounding. "What kind of mistake?" I can't say it out loud," he said, fresh tears rolling down his face. That's when I remembered. We had installed security cameras 6 months ago after there were some break-ins in our neighborhood. Cameras in the living room, kitchen, front door, and backyard. They all connected to an app on my phone. I pulled out my phone right there, opened the app, and started scrolling through today's footage. Gregory's eyes went wide. "Simone, wait, don't." But I was already watching. I scrolled back to 1 p.m. when I knew Brianna would still be at school and Gregory should have been at work. The living room camera showed the front door opening. Gregory walked in, but he wasn't alone. A woman was with him. She had long brown hair and was wearing a red dress that fit her perfectly. She was laughing at something Gregory said. My stomach turned. I kept watching. They sat on the couch. They talked. Then they kissed. My husband kissed another woman in our home on our couch in the middle of the day. I wanted to stop watching, but I couldn't. I needed to see everything. They didn't just kiss. The footage showed them getting more intimate, removing clothing, touching each other in ways that made me feel sick. This wasn't a quick mistake. This was comfortable. This was practiced. This was something they'd done before. I watched the timestamp. They were there for almost 2 hours. When they finally got dressed, the woman kissed Gregory goodbye at the door. He watched her leave, then closed the door and stood there for a moment. Then he walked back to the living room and sat down on the couch. That's when he started crying. He must have realized what he'd done. Must have realized that with the cameras there was proof. Must have known that I'd find out. And instead of coming clean, instead of calling me and confessing, he just sat there and cried. I looked up from my phone. Gregory was watching me, his face pale. Who is she? I asked, my voice cold and steady. Simone, please let me explain, he said, reaching for me. I stepped back. Don't touch me. Who is she? Her name is Rebecca. She works in my office. Simone, it was a mistake. It didn't mean anything. It didn't mean anything? I repeated, my voice rising. You brought her into our home. Our home, Gregory. The home where our daughter lives. Where we sleep. Where we built our life together. I know, I'm so sorry, he said, crying again. I don't know what I was thinking. I've been so stupid. Please, Simone, we can work through this. I felt something break inside me, but it wasn't my heart. It was something else. It was the last bit of whatever made me want to fix this. I looked at my husband, this man I'd loved for 15 years, and I felt nothing but disgust. How long? I asked. What? How long have you been sleeping with her? He looked down. 6 months. 6 months. Half a year. While I was working hard to support our family, to build a better life for us, he was sneaking around with someone from his office. 6 months of lies. 6 months of him kissing me goodbye in the morning and then going to be with her. 6 months of him telling me he loved me while he was saying the same thing to someone else. Get out, I said quietly. Simone, please, we need to talk about this. Get out of my sight. Go to a hotel. Go to her place. I don't care. But you need to leave this house right now. What about Brianna? What are we going to tell her? We aren't going to tell her anything. You're going to pack a bag and leave. I'll handle Brianna. Simone, please don't do this. I love you. I made a mistake, but I love you. I walked past him toward the stairs. You have 30 minutes to pack and get out. If you're still here after that, I'm calling my brother and he'll help you leave. I went upstairs and knocked on Brianna's door. She opened it immediately, her face full of questions. Is Dad okay? She asked. Your father is going through something and he needs some time away, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. He's going to stay somewhere else for a while. What? Mom, what's going on? I can't explain everything right now, baby. But I need you to trust me. Everything is going to be okay. Brianna looked scared, but she nodded. I hugged her tight, breathing in the smell of her coconut shampoo, reminding myself why I needed to be strong. I heard Gregory moving around in our bedroom, packing. Good. He was listening. I sat with Brianna in her room, helping her with her math homework, acting like everything was normal. 25 minutes later, I heard the front door close. I got up and looked out the window. Gregory was putting a suitcase in his car. He looked up at the house, maybe hoping I'd come out and stop him. I didn't move. He got in his car and drove away. That night, after Brianna went to bed, I sat in the living room and watched the security footage again. I needed to see it all to understand the full scope of what he'd done. I took screenshots, saved the videos, and sent everything to my email. Then I did something that surprised even me. I didn't cry. I didn't break down. Instead, I opened my laptop and started making a list. A list of everything I needed to do. First on the list was calling a divorce attorney. Second was checking our bank accounts. Third was documenting everything. Gregory had made his choice. Now I was going to make mine. And my choice was to never, ever let him hurt me again. The next morning, I woke up at 5 a.m. like I always did, but everything felt different. The bed felt bigger. The house felt quieter. For a moment, I almost forgot what had happened, but then it all came rushing back. The camera footage, the woman in the red dress, Gregory's tears. I got up and made coffee. My phone was already buzzing with text messages from Gregory. Simone, please talk to me. I'm so sorry. I'll do anything to fix this. Can we please just talk? I deleted them all without responding. I had work to do and talking to him wasn't part of my plan. Brianna came downstairs at 6:30 ready for school. She looked worried. Is Dad coming back today? She asked, pouring herself some orange juice. I'm not sure, honey, I said, keeping my voice neutral. He and I need to work some things out. Did he do something bad? I looked at my daughter, so innocent and trusting. She deserved the truth, but not yet. Not until I had everything figured out. Adults sometimes have complicated problems, I said. But I promise you this has nothing to do with you. Your father loves you very much. But what about you? Does he love you? That question hit me harder than I expected. Right now, I'm focusing on making sure you're okay. That's what matters most. Brianna nodded, but I could see the confusion in her eyes. She finished her breakfast quickly and left for school. As soon as she was gone, I made my first phone call. Sterling and Associates Law Firm, how may I help you? A professional voice answered. Yes, I'd like to schedule a consultation for a divorce, I said. The word felt strange in my mouth but necessary. Of course. We have an opening tomorrow at 2 p.m. with attorney Patricia Sterling. Would that work for you? Perfect. After I hung up, I felt a small sense of relief. I was taking action. I wasn't just sitting around waiting for Gregory to decide my fate. Next, I logged into our bank accounts. We had a joint checking account, a joint savings account, and separate retirement accounts. I started going through the transactions for the past 6 months, and what I found made my blood run cold. There were withdrawals I didn't recognize. Charges at expensive restaurants I'd never been to. Hotel rooms. Gifts from jewelry stores. He'd been spending our money on her. Our money that we both worked hard to save. I took screenshots of everything. Every suspicious transaction. Every charge that didn't make sense. I created a folder on my computer labeled Evidence and started filling it with everything I could find. My phone rang. It was Gregory. I let it go to voicemail. A few minutes later, I listened to the message. Simone, please pick up. We need to talk about this. I made a mistake, but we can fix this. We have Brianna to think about. Please just call me back. I deleted the voicemail and blocked his number. He could communicate through email if he needed to reach me, but I wasn't going to let him manipulate me with his voice. I went to work that day and acted completely normal. My colleague Nicole noticed something was off. You okay, girl? She asked during our lunch break. Nicole had been my best friend since college. She was smart, funny, and one of the few people I truly trusted. Can we talk somewhere private? I asked. We went to a quiet conference room and I told her everything. The security footage, the affair, Gregory crying on the floor. Nicole's expression went from shock to anger in about 3 seconds. That piece of trash, she said, shaking her head. After everything you've done for him? After you supported him through business school while working full-time? After you gave him a beautiful daughter? I'm not taking him back, I said firmly. I just need to figure out the smartest way to handle this. Good. Because if you were thinking about forgiving him, I'd have to knock some sense into you, Nicole said. What do you need from me? Just be there. I'm going to need someone to talk to through all of this. I'm here. Whatever you need. That evening, I picked up Brianna from volleyball practice and made her favorite dinner, spaghetti with turkey meatballs. We ate together at the kitchen table and I tried to keep the conversation light. How was practice? I asked. Good. Coach says I'm improving on my serves, Brianna said, twirling pasta on her fork. Mom, can I ask you something? Of course. Are you and Dad getting divorced? I put down my fork and looked at her. I don't know yet, but I want you to understand something. Whatever happens between your father and me, it has nothing to do with you. We both love you more than anything in this world. But you don't love each other anymore? It's complicated, sweetie. Sometimes adults make choices that hurt the people they love. When that happens, we have to decide if we can move forward or if we need to go separate ways. Brianna was quiet for a moment. Did Dad cheat on you? I wasn't expecting her to be so direct. What makes you ask that? I'm 17, Mom. I'm not stupid. Dad was crying like someone died, but nobody died. He left the house with a suitcase. And you look angry every time someone mentions him. It's pretty obvious. I sighed. Yes. Your father was unfaithful. I'm sorry, Mom, Brianna said, reaching across the table to hold my hand. That's really messed up. Yeah, it is. But we're going to be okay. I promise you that. After dinner, I went back to my computer and continued my investigation. I checked Gregory's credit card statements, which I had access to online. More charges I didn't recognize. More expensive dinners. More hotel rooms. Then I found something interesting. A payment to a real estate attorney. Why would Gregory need a real estate attorney? We owned our house outright. We didn't have any property disputes. Unless my heart started racing. I searched through more documents and found an email Gregory had sent himself from his work account to his personal account. He must have forgotten to delete it. The email contained information about how to protect assets during a divorce. How to hide money. How to make it look like you have less than you do. He was planning this. He was planning to leave me, but he wanted to make sure he got the upper hand first. That's why he was moving money around. That's why he hired a real estate attorney. He was preparing for a divorce before I even knew about the affair. This changed everything. He wasn't just a cheating husband. He was a calculating, manipulative person who was actively trying to screw me over financially. I felt a cold fury settle over me. Two could play this game. and I was going to be better at it than he ever imagined. I spent the next 3 hours documenting every single thing I could find. Every email, every transaction, every piece of evidence that showed he was planning to leave and hide assets. I created a timeline of the affair, noting dates and locations. I printed everything out and put it in a binder. At 11 p.m., I got an email from Gregory. "Simone, I'm staying at the Marriott downtown. Room 412. Please come talk to me. We need to discuss this face to face. I love you and I don't want to lose our family." I didn't respond. Instead, I went to bed and slept better than I had in months. I had a plan now. I had evidence. And I had the element of surprise. Gregory thought I was at home crying, devastated by his betrayal. He thought I'd eventually forgive him because that's what good wives do, right? They forgive and try to work it out for the sake of the family. But I wasn't going to be that wife. I was going to be the wife who took everything he tried to hide and used it against him. I was going to be the wife who came out on top. The next afternoon, I sat in Patricia Sterling's office and laid out everything I'd found. She was a sharp woman in her 50s with silver hair and bright green eyes. She listened carefully as I showed her the evidence. "This is excellent documentation," she said, looking through the binder. "The security footage, the financial records, the emails about hiding assets. This gives us a very strong case. What are my options?" I asked. "Well, New York is an equitable distribution state, which means marital assets are divided fairly, not necessarily equally. With evidence of his affair and his attempts to hide assets, we can argue for a larger portion of the marital property. We can also pursue spousal support depending on income differences." "I make almost as much as he does," I said. "I don't want his money. I just want what's rightfully mine." "Understood. What about the house?" "I want to keep it. Brianna needs stability, and that house is her home. We can definitely argue for that, especially with evidence that he's been using marital funds for the affair. That shows marital waste, which courts don't look kindly upon." We spent the next hour going over strategy. Patricia explained the divorce process, what to expect, and how to protect myself financially. "Here's what I recommend," she said. "Don't tell him you've hired an attorney yet. Continue gathering evidence. Open a separate bank account in just your name and start moving money there for your personal expenses. Get copies of all important documents like property deeds, car titles, insurance policies. The more prepared you are before we file, the better position you'll be in." "How long should I wait before filing?" "Give it a few weeks. Make sure you have everything in order. And in the meantime, if he's trying to contact you, keep it minimal and don't say anything that could be used against you later." I left Patricia's office feeling empowered. I had a lawyer. I had a plan. And Gregory had no idea what was coming. Over the next few days, I followed Patricia's advice. I opened a new bank account and transferred money for my immediate expenses. I gathered copies of all our important documents. I even went to our safe deposit box at the bank and made copies of everything inside. Gregory kept trying to reach me. Text messages, emails, phone calls to my office. I ignored most of them, but occasionally I'd send a brief email saying I needed time to think. I wanted him to believe there was a chance of reconciliation. I wanted him to get comfortable, to let his guard down. Meanwhile, I kept digging. I found more evidence of the affair. Text messages he'd forgotten to delete from his old phone, which was in a drawer in our bedroom. Love messages to Rebecca. Plans to meet up. Complaints about me. That one hurt more than I expected. Reading him call me cold and distant to another woman, when I'd been nothing but supportive of him for 15 years. But the hurt just made me more determined. I took screenshots of every message. Every single one. I also did some research on Rebecca. Found her on social media. Discovered that she was married too. Her husband's name was Thomas and they had 2 kids. She'd been living a double life just like Gregory. For a moment, I thought about reaching out to Thomas, letting him know what his wife was doing. But I decided against it. That wasn't my fight. My focus needed to stay on my own situation. 1 week after Gregory left, he showed up at the house unannounced. I was home alone, having just dropped Brianna off at a friend's house. I heard his key in the lock and my heart started pounding. He walked in looking tired and disheveled. "Simone, please, we need to talk." "You can't just walk in here anymore," I said, keeping my distance. "This is my home. It's my home too. I still pay the mortgage. Actually, the house is paid off. We paid it off 3 years ago, remember?" He looked frustrated. "That's not the point. Can we please just sit down and talk like adults?" "Fine. But you have 30 minutes. I have somewhere to be." I didn't, but I wanted to control the conversation. We sat in the living room on opposite ends of the couch. The same couch where I'd watched him with Rebecca on camera. The irony wasn't lost on me. "I've been doing a lot of thinking," Gregory started, "and I realize I made a huge mistake. The thing with Rebecca, it was meaningless. It was just physical. It didn't mean anything. Just physical," I repeated. "For 6 months. I know how it looks, but I was confused. I was going through something, feeling old, feeling like my life was passing me by. Rebecca made me feel young again." "So this is a midlife crisis?" I asked, my voice dripping with sarcasm. "I'm trying to explain." "No, you're trying to make excuses. There's a difference." Gregory rubbed his face. "Simone, we have 15 years together. We have a daughter. We have a life. Are you really going to throw all of that away?" "I'm not the one who threw it away, Gregory. You did. You threw it away the first time you kissed her. You threw it away every time you lied to me. You threw it away when you brought her into our home." "I ended it with Rebecca," he said. "As soon as you found out, I ended it. I told her we were done." "Congratulations. You want a medal for doing what you should have done 6 months ago. Simone, please. I'm begging you. Give me another chance. Let me prove to you that I can be the husband you deserve." I looked at him, really looked at him. This man who I'd loved, who I'd built a life with, who I'd trusted completely. And all I felt was emptiness. "Your 30 minutes are up," I said, standing. "You need to leave." "Are you serious right now?" "Very serious." "Leave, Gregory." He stood up, anger flashing across his face. "You know what? You're being ridiculous. People make mistakes. Marriages go through rough patches. But you're acting like I committed murder or something." "You murdered our marriage," I said quietly. "And I'm done trying to resurrect it." Gregory stared at me for a long moment, then shook his head and walked out. I heard his car start and drive away. I sat back down on the couch and took a deep breath. That conversation had been harder than I expected, but I'd done it. I hadn't wavered. I hadn't given in to his guilt trips or his attempts to minimize what he'd done. My phone buzzed. It was a text from Patricia. "How are you holding up? Remember, stay strong and stick to the plan." I texted back, "I'm good. Moving forward with everything." And I was. For the first time in a week, I felt like I was in control of my life again. Gregory had taken away my trust, my sense of security, and my peace of mind. But he hadn't taken away my strength. And that strength was going to carry me through this. 2 weeks after Gregory moved out, I was sitting at my kitchen table with financial documents spread out everywhere. Bank statements, credit card bills, investment accounts, everything I could find. Patricia had advised me to get a complete picture of our finances before we filed for divorce, and what I was discovering made me sick to my stomach. It wasn't just the money he'd spent on Rebecca, though that was bad enough. Over 6 months, he'd spent nearly $20,000 on restaurants, hotels, gifts, and trips. $20,000 of our money that could have gone toward Brianna's college fund or our retirement. But there was something else, something bigger that I'd almost missed. 3 months ago, Gregory had opened a separate checking account at a different bank. I only found out about it because I received a piece of mail addressed to him from that bank. Normally I wouldn't open his mail, but these weren't normal circumstances. Inside was a statement showing a balance of $45,000. $45,000 that he'd moved from our joint savings account in small increments over the past several months. Small enough that I wouldn't notice any single transaction, but large enough that when added together, it was a significant amount of money. I checked our joint savings account. We should have had about $80,000 saved up. Now we had only $35,000. He'd taken more than half of our savings and hidden it. My hands were shaking as I took pictures of the bank statement and emailed them to Patricia. She called me back within an hour. "This is exactly what we needed," she said. "He's been systematically moving marital assets. This shows intent to defraud you of your fair share. Combined with the evidence of the affair and marital waste, we have a very strong case. What do I do now?" I asked. "First, make sure all your evidence is backed up in multiple places. Cloud storage, external hard drive, everything. Second, I'm going to file a motion to freeze all marital accounts as soon as we file for divorce. He won't be able to move any more money around." "When should we file? Are you ready? Do you have everything you need documented?" I looked at the papers spread across my table. "Yes, I'm ready." "Then let's file this week. I'll have the papers drawn up and we'll serve him at his office. That way there are witnesses and he can't make a scene." The thought of serving Gregory with divorce papers at his workplace felt harsh, but then again he'd brought another woman into our home. He'd stolen our money. He'd lied to me for 6 months. He deserved harsh. Let's do it, I said. That evening I sat down with Brianna to talk. She was doing homework at the dining room table, listening to music through her headphones. I tapped her shoulder and she pulled them off. Hey Mom, she said. What's up? I need to tell you something important, I said, sitting down next to her. I've hired a divorce attorney. I'm filing for divorce from your father. Brianna was quiet for a moment. I kind of figured that was coming. You did? Yeah. I mean, you haven't talked to him in 2 weeks except that one time he came by. And I saw all those papers on your desk in your office. I thought I'd been so careful, but apparently not careful enough. I'm sorry you had to find out this way. It's okay, Mom. I'm not a little kid. I understand that Dad messed up really bad. He did. And I want you to know that this decision has nothing to do with you. Your father and I both love you very much. I know. But I'm kind of mad at him too, Brianna admitted. Like, how could he do that to you? To us. People make mistakes sometimes. Bad mistakes. That's not a mistake, Mom. A mistake is forgetting to take out the trash. What Dad did was a choice. He chose to cheat on you. My daughter was wise beyond her years. You're right. It was a choice. So what happens now? Well, the divorce process takes some time. Your father and I will have to work out custody arrangements for you, divide our property, all of that legal stuff. But I want you to know that no matter what happens, this is still your home. You're still going to see your father regularly. Nothing about your life has to change dramatically. Can I ask you something? Brianna said, playing with her pencil. Anything. Are you sad? I thought about that question carefully. I'm hurt. I'm angry. I'm disappointed. But sad? Not really. Your father broke something that can't be fixed, and I'm at peace with that. Brianna nodded. Good. Because you deserve better than someone who lies to you. I pulled her into a hug. Thank you, baby. That means more than you know. The next few days were a blur of activity. Patricia had the divorce papers drawn up, and we scheduled them to be served to Gregory on Friday afternoon at his office. I tried to go about my normal routine, but I felt like I was walking around with a secret that was about to explode. On Thursday night, I got a strange phone call from a number I didn't recognize. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Hello? Is this Simone? A male voice asked. Yes. Who is this? My name is Thomas. I'm Rebecca's husband. My stomach dropped. How did you get this number? I found it in my wife's phone. She had it listed under a fake name, but I figured out it was connected to Gregory somehow. Look, I know this is awkward, but I need to know. Are our spouses having an affair? I sat down on my bed. Yes, they are. Thomas was quiet for a moment. How long have you known? 2 weeks. I found security camera footage of them in my house. Jesus, he muttered. I suspected something was going on, but Rebecca kept denying it. Said I was being paranoid. But then I found some text messages she'd deleted. She wasn't as good at hiding them as she thought. I'm sorry you're going through this, I said. I'm sorry you are too. Can I ask you something? Are you planning on divorcing him? Yes. I'm filing tomorrow. Good. I filed 2 days ago. Rebecca doesn't know yet. She's been served at her office tomorrow morning. There was something almost funny about the timing. Both of us serving papers on the same day. How are you holding up? Better than I expected, honestly. I loved her, but I can't be married to someone who lies to me like that. We have 2 kids, and I need to set an example for them about self-respect. I have a daughter, I said. She's 17. I'm thinking the same thing. Listen, I know this is strange, but would you be willing to share any evidence you have? My lawyer said the more documentation I have, the better my case will be. I thought about it for a moment. Sure. Give me your email and I'll send you what I have. But I need copies of anything you have too. Deal. We exchanged information and hung up. It felt surreal to be talking to Rebecca's husband, to be sharing evidence of our spouse's affair like we were trading recipes. But there was something comforting about it too. I wasn't alone in this. Someone else understood exactly what I was going through. That night, I organized all my evidence one more time. The security footage, the bank statements, the credit card charges, the text messages, the emails about hiding assets. Everything was documented, backed up, and ready to go. I thought about Gregory, going about his day tomorrow with no idea what was coming. Part of me felt bad for ambushing him like this. But then I remembered the security footage, remembered him kissing Rebecca in our living room, and the guilt disappeared. He'd had his chance to come clean. He'd had multiple chances actually. He could have told me the truth from the beginning. He could have been honest when I found the footage. Instead, he cried and begged for forgiveness while still keeping secrets. Well, the secrets were about to come out. All of them. Friday morning, I got up extra early and spent time getting ready for work. I wore a bright red suit that Nicole had convinced me to buy last year. I'd always thought it was too bold, but today it felt perfect. I looked at myself in the mirror and barely recognized the woman staring back. She looked strong, confident, ready for battle. I dropped Brianna off at school and headed to my office. The whole morning felt surreal, like I was watching myself from outside my body. I went to meetings, responded to emails, acted completely normal. But inside I was counting down the hours. Patricia had arranged for the process server to arrive at Gregory's office at 2 p.m. That's when everything would become real. That's when there would be no going back. At 1:55 p.m., my phone buzzed with a text from Patricia. "Server is heading in now. I'll call you when it's done." I stared at my phone, my heart pounding. This was it. After 2 weeks of planning and preparing, it was finally happening. At 2:03 p.m., Patricia called. "It's done," she said. "He's been served." How did he react? According to the server, he was shocked. Didn't say much, just took the papers and went into his office. His co-workers were definitely watching though. Good. Let them watch. Let everyone at his office know what kind of man he really was. "What happens now?" I asked. "Now we wait for his response. He has 30 days to file his answer to the divorce petition. In the meantime, I've already filed the motion to freeze all marital accounts. That should be granted within a few days." "Thank you, Patricia. You're doing the right thing, Simone. Stay strong." I hung up and sat at my desk, feeling a strange mix of emotions. Relief, anxiety, determination, and something else I couldn't quite name. Freedom, maybe. For the first time in 2 weeks, I felt like I was moving forward instead of just reacting to what Gregory had done. My phone started ringing. Gregory. I didn't answer. He called 3 more times in the next 10 minutes. Then the text started. "Simone, what the hell? You had me served at my office? We need to talk about this. You can't just divorce me without even trying to work things out. This is ridiculous. Call me back right now." I didn't respond to any of them. Patricia had advised me to let all communication go through her office now that we'd filed. I forwarded all his messages to her and put my phone on silent. That evening, I picked up Brianna from volleyball practice and took her out for pizza, her favorite. We sat in a booth at Angelo's, the place we'd been going to since she was little. "You seem different today," Brianna said, taking a bite of her pepperoni slice. "Different how?" "I don't know. Lighter, I guess. Like you're not carrying something heavy anymore." "That's a good way to put it," I said. "I did something today that I've been planning for a while. Something that was really hard but really necessary." "Does it have to do with Dad?" "Yes. I officially filed for divorce today. He was served with papers this afternoon." Brianna nodded slowly. "How do you feel?" "Honestly, I feel relieved. Like I finally took control of my life again." "I'm proud of you, Mom," Brianna said. "I know that probably sounds weird coming from your daughter, but I am. You're not letting him treat you badly." Tears pricked my eyes. "Thank you, sweetheart. That means everything to me." We finished our pizza and drove home. As I pulled into the driveway, I saw Gregory's car parked on the street. He was sitting in it, waiting. "Do you want me to call Uncle Mike?" Brianna asked, referring to my brother. "No, it's okay. Go inside and start your homework. I'll handle this." Brianna gave me a worried look but went inside. I walked over to Gregory's car. He got out as I approached. "We need to talk," he said. His eyes were red and he looked exhausted. "There's nothing to talk about. Everything goes through our lawyers now." "Simone, come on. You had me served at my office. In front of everyone I work with. Do you have any idea how humiliating that was? Do you have any idea how humiliating it was to watch security footage of you with another woman in our house?" I shot back. He flinched. "That's not the same thing." "You're right. It's not. What you did was worse." I admitted I made a mistake. I apologized. "But you won't even give me a chance to make it right." "There is no making this right, Gregory. You didn't just make one mistake. You made hundreds of choices over 6 months. Choices to lie to me. Choices to spend our money on her. Choices to hide assets and prepare for a divorce while I was still thinking we were happy." His face paled. "You know about the account?" "I know about everything. The secret bank account. The $45,000 you moved. The emails about protecting assets. The real estate attorney you consulted. I know it all." Gregory looked sick. "Simone, I can explain." "No explanation needed. It's all going to come out in court anyway. Now I need you to leave." If you have something to say, tell your lawyer to call my lawyer. I don't even have a lawyer yet. Then I suggest you get one. Soon. I turned and walked toward my house. Gregory called after me, but I didn't look back. I went inside, locked the door, and watched through the window as he stood there for a few more minutes before finally getting in his car and driving away. Brianna was at the top of the stairs. Is he gone? Yes, he's gone. Are you okay? I smiled at her. You know what? I really am. And I was. For the first time since this whole nightmare started, I felt genuinely okay. I'd stood up for myself. I'd taken action. I was moving forward with my life, and nothing Gregory could say or do was going to change that. Later that night, after Brianna went to bed, I sat in my office and looked through all the evidence I'd gathered. Tomorrow I'd start the next phase of my plan. But tonight I allowed myself to just sit with the victory of today. I'd filed for divorce. I'd taken back my power. And I was never, ever going back. The weeks following the divorce filing were strange. Life continued as normal on the surface, but everything felt different. I went to work, took care of Brianna, managed the house, but all the while I was building my case, documenting everything, preparing for the legal battle ahead. Patricia had warned me that Gregory would probably try to fight the divorce once the initial shock wore off. She was right. Within a week of being served, he'd hired a lawyer, some guy named Richard who apparently had a reputation for being aggressive in divorce cases. Richard sent Patricia a long letter claiming that I was being unreasonable, that Gregory had made a mistake but wanted to work on the marriage, and that I was proceeding with the divorce without proper consideration for our daughter's well-being. I laughed when Patricia read it to me over the phone. He's really trying to make himself the victim here? It's a common tactic, Patricia said. They want to paint you as the cold, unforgiving wife who won't give the poor, repentant husband another chance. Don't worry, we have plenty of evidence to counter that narrative. What do we do now? Now we wait for discovery. That's when both sides have to turn over financial documents, communications, anything relevant to the case. And that's when things are going to get interesting, because Gregory doesn't know how much information we already have. Won't his lawyer advise him to be honest about the hidden account? Probably. But people don't always listen to their lawyers, especially when they're desperate. Let's see what he discloses. If he tries to hide assets, that's going to work heavily in your favor. In the meantime, I focused on securing my own financial situation. I'd opened my own checking and savings accounts, and I was now depositing my paychecks there. I'd also started looking into refinancing the house in just my name, though Patricia advised waiting until after the divorce was finalized. Work became my refuge. I'd been working on a major project for months, a new software implementation for one of our biggest clients. The project was complex and demanding, which was perfect. It gave me something to focus on besides the divorce. My boss, Rachel, called me into her office one afternoon about 3 weeks after I'd filed. Simone, I wanted to check in with you, she said, gesturing for me to sit down. I know you're going through some personal stuff right now. How did you know? I asked, surprised. Nicole mentioned that you were dealing with some family issues. She didn't give me details, just said you might need some flexibility with your schedule. I made a mental note to thank Nicole later. Yes, I'm going through a divorce. But it's not affecting my work. I'm not worried about your work. Your performance has been exceptional as always. I'm worried about you as a person. Are you okay? The unexpected kindness made my throat tight. I'm managing. Some days are harder than others, but I'm getting through it. Good. And I want you to know that if you need time off or flexible hours or anything else, just let me know. We value you here and we want to support you however we can. Thank you, Rachel. That really means a lot. There's something else, she said, pulling out a folder. I was going to wait until next month to tell you this, but given everything you're dealing with, I think you could use some good news. We're promoting you to Director of Project Management. It comes with a significant salary increase and better benefits. I stared at her, speechless. Are you serious? Completely serious. You've earned this, Simone. Your work on the Harrison account alone would have been enough, but you've consistently gone above and beyond. You deserve this promotion. I felt tears starting to form and blinked them back. Thank you. You have no idea how much this means to me right now. I think I can imagine. When you're going through something difficult, it helps to have professional success to hold on to. Consider this your foundation to stand on while you rebuild your personal life. I left Rachel's office feeling like I was floating. A promotion. A significant salary increase. This changed everything. Not only would I be more financially secure, but it also strengthened my position in the divorce. I could prove that I could support myself and Brianna without needing anything from Gregory. I called Patricia immediately to tell her the news. That's fantastic, she said. Make sure you get the offer in writing and send me a copy. This helps our case significantly. How so? It shows financial independence. It also shows that you're moving forward with your life in a positive way. If Gregory tries to claim you need spousal support, we can counter with evidence that you have a strong, successful career. That evening I celebrated with Brianna and Nicole. We went to a nice restaurant downtown, the kind of place Gregory and I used to go to for special occasions. But this celebration was better because it was just for me. To my brilliant friend, Nicole said, raising her glass. Director of Project Management. That sounds fancy. To Mom, Brianna added, who's basically a boss in every way. We clinked glasses and I felt genuinely happy for the first time in weeks. But of course, happiness never lasts long when you're going through a divorce. The next morning, I received an email from Richard, Gregory's lawyer. He was requesting a meeting to discuss settlement terms before we went to court. Patricia advised me to agree, even though she didn't expect anything productive to come from it. It shows good faith, she explained. And it lets us see what they're planning to argue. The meeting was scheduled for the following week at Patricia's office. I spent those days preparing mentally, going over all my evidence, making sure I knew every detail of our financial situation. The day of the meeting arrived. I wore a bright blue dress that made me feel confident and professional. Patricia and I arrived at her office first and set up in the conference room. All my evidence was organized in folders, ready to be referenced if needed. Gregory and Richard showed up 15 minutes late. Gregory looked terrible, like he hadn't been sleeping well. Good. Thank you for agreeing to meet, Richard started, sitting across from us. He was a short man in his 50s with a comb-over that fooled no one. My client is hopeful that we can reach an amicable settlement without dragging this through court. We're open to discussing terms, Patricia said. What are you proposing? Richard slid a document across the table. We believe a fair settlement would involve splitting all marital assets 50-50, shared custody of the minor child, and no spousal support on either side. I looked at the document and nearly laughed. You want half of everything? That's standard in divorce cases, Richard said. What about the $45,000 my husband moved into a secret account? I asked. Is that included in the assets to be split? Gregory's face went pale. Richard looked confused. I'm not aware of any secret account. Really? I said, pulling out the bank statement. Because I have documentation right here showing that Gregory opened an account at First National Bank 3 months ago and transferred over $45,000 from our joint savings. Money that belonged to both of us. Richard looked at Gregory, who was staring at the table. Is this true? I can explain, Gregory started. Yes or no, Richard said sharply. Did you open a secret account and move marital funds into it? Yes, but I was going to tell Simone about it. When? I asked. Before or after you filed for divorce and tried to keep it all for yourself? Richard held up his hand. Let's take a 5-minute break. I need to speak with my client privately. They left the conference room. Patricia turned to me with a small smile. Well, that went exactly as expected. He really thought I wouldn't find out? People make stupid decisions when they're panicking. He probably thought he was being clever. When Gregory and Richard returned, Richard's demeanor had changed. He looked annoyed. It appears there are some financial matters we need to address, he said stiffly. My client informs me that he moved some funds for safekeeping. Safekeeping from what? Patricia asked. His wife. We'd like to propose a revised settlement, Richard continued, ignoring the question. We'll disclose the account and include it in the marital assets to be divided. That's not good enough, Patricia said. We have evidence that your client has been systematically hiding assets and planning this divorce while my client was unaware of any marital problems. We also have evidence of extensive marital waste. Marital waste? Richard repeated. Patricia pulled out another folder. Over the past 6 months, your client spent approximately $20,000 on an extramarital affair. Hotel rooms, expensive dinners, jewelry, trips. All using marital funds. Richard looked at Gregory again and I could see his frustration growing. Gregory hadn't been honest with his own lawyer. We're prepared to pursue full disclosure of all financial matters, Patricia continued. Bank records, credit cards, investments, everything. And we're requesting that my client retain the marital home due to the need for stability for the minor child, as well as a larger portion of marital assets due to the waste and hidden accounts. That's outrageous, Richard said. You can't expect my client to give up the house. Your client brought his mistress into that house, Patricia said coldly. My client has video evidence of this. Do you really want to argue in front of a judge that he deserves to keep the home he violated? Richard looked like he wanted to throw something. Can we have another break? Take all the time you need, Patricia said. Gregory and Richard left again. This time they were gone for almost 20 minutes. When they came back, Gregory looked defeated. We're willing to negotiate, Richard said. But we need time to review our position. Can we adjourn this meeting and reconvene in 2 weeks? That's fine, Patricia said. But we expect full financial disclosure before the next meeting. Everything, including the secret account and all credit card statements for the past year. After they left, Patricia turned to me. That went very well. Really? It felt kind of brutal. It was brutal, but necessary. Gregory's lawyer now knows that his client hasn't been honest with him, which puts them in a weak position. And we've established that we have extensive evidence and we're not afraid to use it. What happens next? Now we wait and see what they come back with. My guess is they'll try to negotiate a better settlement rather than going to trial. No lawyer wants to take a case to court when their client has been caught hiding assets and having an affair. I left the meeting feeling energized. For so long I'd felt like a victim, like something had been done to me. But now I was taking action, fighting back, making sure that Gregory didn't get to control the narrative or the outcome. Over the next 2 weeks, I continued gathering evidence and documenting everything. I also started going to therapy, which Nicole had been suggesting for weeks. My therapist, Dr. Williams, was a kind woman in her 60s who specialized in helping people through divorce. Tell me about your marriage, she said during our first session. I thought it was good, I said. We had our problems like any couple, but I thought we were solid. We communicated, we supported each other's careers, we were good parents to Brianna. I had no idea he was unhappy. Do you think he was unhappy? Or do you think he just wanted something different? That question hit me hard. I don't know. He said he felt old, felt like life was passing him by. But we're only 43 years old. We have our whole lives ahead of us. Sometimes people create problems where there aren't any because they're looking for an excuse to do what they want to do, Dr. Williams said. It sounds like your husband wanted to have an affair, so he convinced himself that something was wrong with the marriage to justify it. That makes sense. But it still hurts. Of course it hurts. You trusted him and he betrayed that trust. But I want you to understand something important. This is not your fault. You didn't cause this. You couldn't have prevented it. This was his choice. Those words, simple as they were, helped more than anything else. I'd been carrying around this nagging feeling that maybe I'd done something wrong, maybe I hadn't been a good enough wife. But Dr. Williams was right. This was Gregory's choice, not mine. The second meeting with Gregory's lawyer came around. This time they were more prepared, but so was I. Richard presented their revised offer. I would keep the house, but Gregory wanted half of my retirement account and a portion of the equity in the house. He also wanted to split custody of Brianna equally. Absolutely not, Patricia said immediately. Your client violated the marital home and wasted marital funds. He doesn't get to benefit from that. The affair is regrettable, Richard said, but it doesn't change the fact that the house is a marital asset. The house is paid off, Patricia countered. My client's income contributed equally to paying off that mortgage. And given that your client was planning to divorce my client while hiding assets, I'd say he gave up his right to claim half of anything. The negotiations went back and forth for 2 hours. Finally, we reached a tentative agreement. I would keep the house. Gregory would keep his full retirement account and I would keep mine. We would split the savings account equally, including the money from the secret account. And we would have a custody arrangement where Brianna stayed primarily with me but visited Gregory on weekends and holidays. It wasn't perfect, but it was fair. And more importantly, it meant I wouldn't have to sell the house or uproot Brianna's life. I'll have the settlement agreement drawn up, Patricia said. Once both parties sign, we can submit it to the court for approval. That night, I sat in my living room, the same living room where I'd discovered the affair on camera, and I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time: peace. I'd fought for what I deserved. I'd stood up for myself and my daughter. And I was coming out of this divorce stronger than when I went in. Brianna came downstairs and sat next to me on the couch. You okay, Mom? Yeah, baby. I'm okay. We reached a settlement agreement today. This is almost over. Good. When can we repaint my room? I've been wanting to change it since forever. I laughed. As soon as this is finalized, we'll repaint your room any color you want. Even purple? Even bright, neon purple if that's what you want. Brianna grinned and hugged me. You're the best, Mom. And in that moment, sitting with my daughter in the home that was ours, I realized that I really was going to be okay. Better than okay. I was going to thrive. The settlement agreement was supposed to be simple. Patricia had drafted it based on what we'd negotiated, sent it to Richard, and we expected Gregory to sign within a few days. But of course, nothing about this divorce was going to be simple. A week after the second meeting, I got a call from Patricia. We have a problem, she said. Gregory is refusing to sign the settlement. What? Why? According to Richard, Gregory has had a change of heart. He's decided he wants to fight for full custody of Brianna. I felt my blood pressure spike. Full custody? Is he out of his mind? It's a pressure tactic, Patricia said calmly. He knows he doesn't have a case for full custody, but he's hoping you'll give up something else in the settlement if he threatens it. Like what? Probably the house. Or a larger portion of the savings. He's trying to leverage your love for your daughter to get a better deal. I felt rage building in my chest. That's not going to work. I know. And I told Richard as much. But Gregory's insisting on going to court if we don't renegotiate. Then we go to court. I'm not giving him anything else. Are you sure? Court can be expensive and emotionally draining. I'm sure. I'm done letting him manipulate me. Patricia was quiet for a moment. Okay. Then we prepare for trial. And Simone? We're going to win this. The next few weeks were intense. Patricia and I met multiple times to prepare for court. We organized all the evidence, prepared witness lists, and practiced what I would say on the stand. The judge is going to ask you about the marriage, Patricia explained. About why you're divorcing, about Gregory's fitness as a parent, about your ability to care for Brianna. You need to be honest but not emotional. State facts, not feelings. What about the affair? Can I mention that? Absolutely. The affair goes to his character and judgment. The fact that he brought his mistress into the family home shows poor decision-making, especially regarding the child's well-being. We also prepared Brianna, although Patricia advised that she probably wouldn't have to testify unless Gregory pushed for it. How do you feel about the custody arrangement? I asked Brianna one evening as we were doing dishes together. I want to live with you, Brianna said without hesitation. I'll visit Dad, but I don't want to split my time 50-50. All my stuff is here, my friends are close by, and honestly, I'm still kind of mad at him. You know I can't make you not see your father, right? I know, and I will see him. But I want this to be my main home. Okay. That's what we'll tell the court if it comes to that. 2 weeks before the court date, Gregory tried a different tactic. He started calling Brianna directly, trying to convince her that living with him would be better. He says he's getting a bigger apartment, Brianna told me after one of these calls. Says I can have my own bathroom and he'll take me shopping for new furniture. What did you tell him? I told him I'm happy where I am. He got kind of upset and said you were turning me against him. I would never do that. I know, Mom. I'm 17, not 7. I can make my own decisions about who I want to live with. But Gregory didn't stop. He sent Brianna text messages, tried to take her out for dinners, bought her expensive gifts. It was clear what he was doing, trying to buy her affection and loyalty. I wanted to tell him to stop, but Patricia advised against it. Let him keep doing it. It actually helps our case. The judge will see that he's trying to manipulate his daughter, and they don't look favorably on that. 1 week before court, Nicole convinced me to go out for drinks. We went to a wine bar downtown, the kind of place with dim lighting and quiet music. How are you holding up? Nicole asked after we'd ordered. I'm tired, I admitted. I'm tired of fighting, tired of worrying, tired of dealing with Gregory's games. But you're still fighting. Of course. I'm not giving up. But some days I just want it to be over. It will be soon. One way or another, this will be resolved. We were halfway through our second glass of wine when I noticed someone across the bar. Rebecca. She was with a group of women, laughing and drinking like she didn't have a care in the world. Nicole saw her too. Is that her? Yeah. Want me to go over there and accidentally spill my drink on her? I laughed despite myself. No. She's not worth it. But as I watched Rebecca, I felt anger bubbling up. This woman had helped destroy my marriage. She'd slept with my husband in my home. And here she was, acting like nothing had happened. Before I could think better of it, I stood up and walked over to her table. Rebecca, I said. She looked up and her face went pale when she recognized me. Simone. Can I talk to you for a minute? Alone. Rebecca glanced at her friends, then stood up. We walked to a quiet corner of the bar. I don't know what Gregory told you, I started, But I want you to know something. I know everything. I have footage of you in my house. I have copies of your text messages. I know about every hotel room, every expensive dinner, every lie. Rebecca looked uncomfortable. Look, I'm sorry. I know it was wrong. You're sorry? That's all you have to say. What do you want me to say? It happened. I can't change that. You could have said no. You could have respected the fact that he was married, that he had a family. But you didn't care about that, did you? You don't know anything about me or my situation, Rebecca said, her voice getting defensive. I know that your husband divorced you. I know that Gregory ended things with you. So whatever you thought you were going to get from this affair, it didn't work out, did it? Rebecca's jaw tightened. Is there a point to this conversation? The point is that I want you to stay away from my family. Away from Gregory, away from my daughter, away from me. Whatever you had with him is over, and I don't ever want to see you or hear from you again. Fine. Trust me, I have no interest in seeing any of you either. I turned and walked back to Nicole, my heart pounding. Nicole raised her glass. That looked intense. It was. But I feel better. Good. She deserved to hear that. We finished our drinks and headed home. That night I slept better than I had in weeks. The day of the court hearing arrived. I woke up early, spent extra time getting ready. I wore a green dress, professional but not too formal. Patricia had advised me to look like a competent parent, not like I was trying too hard. Brianna gave me a hug before school. Good luck, Mom. You've got this. Thanks, baby. I met Patricia at the courthouse at 9 a.m. We went through security and found the correct courtroom. Gregory and Richard were already there, sitting on the other side. Gregory looked nervous, which made me feel slightly better. The judge, a woman named Judge Martinez, called our case at 9:30. We all stood as she entered and took her seat. Good morning, she said, looking at the file in front of her. This is a divorce proceeding with contested custody. I've reviewed the filings from both sides. Let's start with the petitioner. Miss Sterling? Patricia stood. Your Honor, my client Simone is seeking a divorce from her husband Gregory on the grounds of adultery. She's also seeking primary physical custody of their minor daughter, with reasonable visitation for the father. And Mr. Richard? Richard stood. Your Honor, my client admits to marital difficulties but believes the marriage can be saved with counseling. However, if divorce is inevitable, he's seeking joint physical custody of the minor child. Judge Martinez nodded. We'll address the divorce grounds first, then move to custody. Ms. Sterling, present your case. What followed was 2 hours of testimony. I took the stand and told my story calmly and clearly, just like Patricia had coached me. I explained how I'd discovered the affair, what I'd found in the security footage, the hidden bank account, the financial waste. Richard tried to trip me up during cross-examination, asking if I'd been a perfect wife, if I'd always been available for Gregory, if maybe I'd driven him away with my focus on my career. But I stayed calm and answered truthfully. I worked hard to support my family, I said. I never neglected my husband or my daughter. I was a faithful, committed partner. If Gregory was unhappy, he had the option to talk to me about it. Instead, he chose to have an affair and lie about it for 6 months. Then Gregory took the stand. Richard asked him softball questions about his love for Brianna, his desire to be involved in her life, his regret about the affair. But when Patricia cross-examined him, things got interesting. Mr. Thompson, you testified that you want what's best for your daughter, Patricia said. Is that correct? Yes, absolutely. Then can you explain why you brought your mistress into your family home, where your daughter could have walked in at any moment? Gregory's face reddened. That was a mistake. A mistake you made repeatedly over 6 months? I wasn't thinking clearly. Did you consider your daughter's well-being when you were opening secret bank accounts and hiding money from your wife? I was protecting my assets. Assets that belonged to both you and your wife, correct? Assets that were supposed to support your family? Yes, but Simone was going to take everything. Did you know that at the time? Or were you planning to leave your wife and wanted to make sure you had money hidden away first? Gregory didn't answer. Judge Martinez looked at him sternly. Please answer the question, Mr. Thompson. I thought she might try to take everything, Gregory finally said. So you hid marital assets preemptively before any divorce proceedings had begun? I was trying to be prepared. Patricia pulled out the emails about protecting assets. Your Honor, I'd like to enter these into evidence. These are emails my client found showing that Mr. Thompson was researching how to hide assets during a divorce 3 months before my client discovered the affair. Judge Martinez reviewed the emails, her expression unreadable. These will be entered as Exhibit C. The hearing continued with testimony from Brianna, who spoke about wanting to live primarily with me but maintaining a relationship with her father. She was poised and articulate, and I'd never been more proud of her. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, Judge Martinez called for a recess to review everything. Patricia and I waited in the hallway while she deliberated. "How do you think it went?" I asked. "I think it went very well. The evidence is clearly on our side, and Gregory didn't help himself with his testimony." 30 minutes later, we were called back into the courtroom. Judge Martinez had her decision ready. "I've reviewed all the evidence and testimony," she began. "It's clear to me that this marriage is irretrievably broken. The grounds for divorce are established. I'm granting the divorce." I felt relief wash over me. "As for custody," Judge Martinez continued, "I'm awarding primary physical custody to the mother, with the child's primary residence being with Ms. Thompson. The father will have visitation every other weekend and alternating holidays. Both parents will share legal custody and will make major decisions together regarding the child's welfare." "Your Honor," Richard started to object, but Judge Martinez held up her hand. "I'm not finished. As for the division of assets, I'm awarding the marital home to Ms. Thompson. The hidden bank account will be split equally between both parties. Both parties will retain their own retirement accounts. Mr. Thompson, your attempt to hide marital assets does not reflect well on your character, and I'm taking that into consideration in this division." She went on to outline child support payments and other details. When she was finished, she looked at both of us. "I hope you both can move forward from this in a healthy way for the sake of your daughter if nothing else. Divorce is never easy, but it doesn't have to destroy a family. This court is adjourned." We all stood as Judge Martinez left. I turned to Patricia, who was smiling. "We won," she said simply. I looked across the courtroom at Gregory, who was talking urgently with Richard. He looked defeated and I felt nothing. No satisfaction, no anger, no sadness. Just relief that it was over. Patricia and I left the courthouse and stood on the steps outside. "What happens now?" I asked. "Now we wait for the final decree to be processed. It usually takes a few weeks. But as of today, you're legally divorced and you have primary custody of Brianna. Congratulations, Simone. You did it." I took a deep breath of fresh air. I really had done it. I'd stood up for myself, fought for what I deserved, and won. That evening, Brianna and I celebrated with takeout from her favorite Chinese restaurant. We sat at the kitchen table, eating lo mein and spring rolls, and I told her everything that had happened in court. "So I'm staying here?" she asked. "Yes. This is your home. You'll visit your dad every other weekend, but you live here with me." "Good. No offense to Dad, but I like it here better. You can tell him that yourself if you want. I'm not going to speak badly about him to you." "I know, Mom. You've been really cool about all of this. I appreciate that." We finished dinner and I cleaned up while Brianna did homework. As I washed dishes, I looked out the window at our backyard at the life I'd fought so hard to protect. And I smiled. I'd won. Not just in court but in life. I'd taken back my power, my home, my future. And nothing was going to take that away from me again. The divorce decree arrived in the mail 3 weeks later. Holding that official document in my hands made everything feel real in a way it hadn't before. I was legally single. The marriage was officially over. Gregory Thompson was no longer my husband. I filed the papers carefully in a folder and put them in my safe. Part of me wanted to frame them like some kind of trophy, but that felt petty. Instead, I just felt grateful that this chapter of my life was closed. But of course, ending a marriage doesn't mean ending all the complications that come with it. The first complication came in the form of Gregory's job. Apparently, the gossip about his affair had spread throughout his office, and his boss wasn't pleased. Gregory worked in finance where reputation mattered, and being known as the guy who cheated on his wife while hiding assets didn't exactly inspire confidence. I heard about this through mutual friends who still worked at his company. Gregory had been passed over for a promotion he'd been expecting, and several of his clients had requested different account managers. His career, which had always been so important to him, was suffering. Part of me felt bad for him. But then I remembered the security footage, the hidden money, the lies, and the sympathy evaporated pretty quickly. The second complication was Rebecca. About a month after the divorce was finalized, I got a call from an unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. "Hello? Simone? This is Thomas. Rebecca's ex-husband. We talked a few months ago." "Oh, hi Thomas. What's up?" "I wanted to give you a heads up about something. Rebecca's been trying to contact Gregory." My lawyer found out during our divorce proceedings that she's been sending him messages, trying to get back together with him. Good luck to her. I don't care what Gregory does anymore. I figured you wouldn't, but I thought you should know just in case. She's been acting pretty unstable lately. Lost her job, lost her husband, and from what I understand, Gregory wants nothing to do with her anymore. Why are you telling me this? Because unstable people do unstable things. I just wanted you to be aware that she might try to contact you. Thanks for the warning. I hung up feeling uneasy. I didn't like the idea of Rebecca trying to insert herself back into Gregory's life, not because I cared about him, but because I didn't want any drama affecting Brianna. I texted Patricia. Rebecca is apparently trying to contact Gregory. Should I be concerned? She texted back quickly, not unless she contacts you or Brianna. If she does, document it and let me know immediately. I tried to put it out of my mind and focus on the positive things happening in my life. My promotion had been official for a month, and I was loving my new role. I had a bigger office, a better salary, and more responsibility. I'd hired 2 new team members to help manage our projects, and we were crushing our quarterly goals. Rachel called me into her office one afternoon with even more good news. Simone, I wanted to let you know that the Harrison account was so impressed with your work that they've signed on for another 3 years. That's a $50 million contract, and it's largely because of the relationship you built with them. That's amazing, I said, feeling genuinely proud. It is. And the board has taken notice. They're talking about expanding your department and giving you an even bigger role. You're on track to become VP of Project Management within 2 years if you keep this up. VP. I'd never even considered that possibility before. But now it felt real, achievable. Thank you for believing in me, I said. I'm not believing in you. I'm recognizing what you've already proven. There's a difference. That evening I took Brianna out to celebrate. We went to her favorite burger place and I told her about the contract and the potential VP position. That's so cool, Mom, she said, dipping a fry in ketchup. You're basically going to run the whole company soon. Not quite, but I'll have a lot more influence. Does Dad know? Probably not. Why? I don't know. I was just thinking about how he always acted like his job was so important, and now your job is actually more successful than his. It's not a competition, sweetie. I know. But still, there's something satisfying about it, right? I smiled. Maybe a little. We talked about other things, her upcoming volleyball tournament, her college applications, her friends. Life was starting to feel normal again, or at least a new version of normal. Gregory had his first official visitation weekend with Brianna that Friday. I'd been dreading it, not because I didn't think he'd take care of her, but because I wasn't sure how he'd act around her now that the divorce was final. When Gregory came to pick her up, I answered the door but didn't invite him in. She'll be down in a minute, I said. She's just grabbing her bag. Simone, can we talk? Gregory asked. What about? About everything. About us. About what happened. There is no us, Gregory. We're divorced. The only thing we need to discuss is Brianna's schedule and well-being. I know I messed up, but I never wanted it to end like this. Then you shouldn't have cheated on me. Brianna appeared at the top of the stairs with her overnight bag. She came down and hugged me goodbye. Have fun with your dad, I said. Text me if you need anything. I will. Love you, Mom. Love you too, baby. I watched them walk to Gregory's car and drive away. Then I closed the door and realized I had an entire weekend to myself. The first truly free weekend I'd had in months. Nicole called an hour later. Want to come over? A few of us are having dinner and wine. I'll be there in 30 minutes. That evening turned into one of the best nights I'd had in a long time. Nicole had invited 3 other women, all of whom were either divorced or going through divorces. We sat around her dining room table, drinking wine and sharing stories. To the Divorced Women's Club, one woman named Tasha said, raising her glass. May we never make the same mistakes again. We all laughed and clinked glasses. Can I ask you something? Another woman named Jennifer said, looking at me. How did you have the strength to actually go through with it? I've been thinking about divorce for 2 years, but I keep chickening out. I didn't feel strong, I admitted. I felt angry and hurt and betrayed. But I knew that staying would hurt worse than leaving. Do you regret it? Tasha asked. Not even for a second. I'm happier now than I was in the last few years of my marriage, and I didn't even realize I was unhappy until it was over. That's exactly how I felt, Nicole said. Like I'd been living in this fog and divorce cleared it away. We talked late into the night about relationships, mistakes, lessons learned, and hopes for the future. When I finally went home around midnight, I felt lighter than I had in months. The next day, I spent time doing things I'd neglected during the divorce. I cleaned out closets, reorganized my home office, even started planning some minor renovations to the house. I wanted to make this space truly mine. I was in the middle of painting a sample section of wall in the living room when my phone rang. It was Brianna. Hey, sweetie. Everything okay? Yeah, I'm fine. But Dad's been acting kind of weird. Weird how? He keeps asking me questions about you. Like what you're doing this weekend, if you're seeing anyone, stuff like that. I sighed. What did you tell him? I told him I don't know what you do when I'm not home because I'm not home. He seemed annoyed. If he keeps asking, you can tell him it's none of his business. You don't have to report to him about my life. Okay. Hey, Mom. Yeah. I'm proud of you. For everything you've done. Thanks, baby. That means a lot. After we hung up, I thought about Gregory asking questions about my life. He didn't have any right to that information anymore, but I wasn't surprised he was curious. He'd probably expected me to fall apart without him. Finding out that I was thriving must have been a blow to his ego. The following week at work, I attended a conference for project managers. It was being held at a hotel downtown, and I'd signed up months ago, back when I was still married. I'd considered canceling after everything happened, but Rachel had convinced me to go. You need this, she'd said. Professional development, networking, and some time away from everything else. She was right. The conference was exactly what I needed. I attended sessions about new project management methodologies, met other professionals in my field, and even presented a workshop about client relationship management. On the second day of the conference, during the lunch break, I was getting coffee when someone approached me. Excuse me, you're Simone Thompson, right? I attended your workshop yesterday. I turned to see a tall man with kind eyes and a warm smile. He was wearing a blue shirt and gray slacks, professional but not stuffy. Yes, that's me, I said. I'm Julian Davis. I'm the Director of Operations at TechBridge Solutions. Your presentation was excellent. The strategies you outlined for managing difficult clients were really insightful. Thank you. I've learned a lot through trial and error. That's the best way to learn. Listen, I know this is forward, but would you be interested in having coffee sometime? I'd love to pick your brain about some of the challenges we're facing with our own client relationships. I hesitated. This felt like it might be more than just a professional conversation. But I also realized that I was allowed to have coffee with someone. I was single. I was allowed to meet new people. Sure, I said. That sounds nice. We exchanged business cards, and Julian promised to email me to set up a time. As I walked back to my next session, I felt a little flutter of something I hadn't felt in a long time. Not love, not even attraction really. More like possibility. The possibility that maybe, eventually, there could be someone new in my life. Someone who would treat me the way I deserved to be treated. But I wasn't in any rush. I was perfectly happy focusing on myself, my daughter, and my career. If something developed with Julian or anyone else, that would be nice. But I didn't need it. That realization felt like freedom. When I got home that evening, Brianna was waiting with her college acceptance letters. She'd gotten into 3 of her top choices. Mom, look, she said, showing me the letters. I got into State, I got into Riverside, and I got into Westfield. I hugged her tightly. I'm so proud of you, baby. These are all great schools. I'm leaning toward Riverside. It's got the best program for what I want to study, and it's only 2 hours away, so I can come home on weekends if I want. Whatever you choose, I'll support you. We spent the evening looking at dorm options and talking about what college life would be like. It was bittersweet, knowing that in just a few months my baby would be leaving for college, but I was also excited for her. Gregory called later that night after Brianna had gone to bed. I heard about the college acceptances, he said when I answered. That's great news. Yes, she's very excited. Simone, can we talk? About us. There is no us, Gregory. But there could be. I've been thinking a lot about everything, and I realize I made the biggest mistake of my life. I want to try again. I want us to be a family. We'll always be Brianna's parents, but we're not getting back together. That part of our life is over. Is this about money? Because I can make it up to you. I'll give you whatever you want. It's not about money. It's about trust, and you destroyed that. I could never trust you again, Gregory. People rebuild trust all the time. We could go to counseling, work through this. I don't want to work through this. I'm happy with my life the way it is now. There was a long silence. Are you seeing someone? That's none of your business. It is my business. You're the mother of my child. And you're my ex-husband. What I do with my personal life doesn't concern you anymore. Simone, please. Just think about it. Think about what we had. I have thought about it. What we had was a lie. You lied to me for 6 months. You hid money from me. You brought another woman into our home. That's not a foundation to build on. I made mistakes, but I still love you. Then you should have thought about that before you cheated. Goodbye, Gregory. I hung up before he could say anything else. My hands were shaking, but not from sadness. From anger that he thought he could just apologize and I'd take him back. I texted Patricia. Gregory just called asking to get back together. I said no, but I wanted you to know in case he tries anything. She responded immediately, good for you. Document the call in case he becomes persistent. You're under no obligation to communicate with him except about Brianna. I went to bed that night feeling conflicted. Part of me felt good about standing my ground. But another part of me was tired of having to defend my decision to stay divorced. Why couldn't people understand that some things once broken couldn't be fixed? The next morning I woke up to a text from Julian. Good morning. I hope I'm not bothering you, but I was wondering if you'd like to grab coffee this Saturday? There's a great cafe near the waterfront. I stared at the text for a long moment. Saturday was open. Brianna would be with Gregory. I had no reason to say no except fear. And I was done letting fear control my life. Saturday works great, I texted back. Send me the address. It was just coffee. Just a conversation. Nothing more than that. But it felt like a step forward and I was ready to start walking in a new direction. Saturday morning arrived with clear blue skies and a warm breeze. I spent extra time getting ready for coffee with Julian, changing outfits 3 times before settling on a red blouse and jeans. Casual but put together. I didn't want to look like I was trying too hard, even though I definitely was. Nicole called while I was doing my makeup. How are you feeling about today? Nervous. Is that stupid? It's just coffee. It's not stupid. This is your first, whatever this is, since Gregory. It's okay to be nervous. I don't even know if it's a date. He might genuinely just want to talk about work. And if it is a date? I thought about that. Then I guess I'm going on a date. You deserve this, Simone. You deserve to meet someone who treats you well. Just have fun and see what happens. I arrived at the cafe 10 minutes early, which gave me time to regret everything. What was I doing? I'd been divorced for less than 2 months. Was this too soon? Should I have waited longer? But then Julian walked in and all my overthinking stopped. He was wearing jeans and a green polo shirt, and when he saw me, his whole face lit up with a genuine smile. Simone, thanks for meeting me, he said, sliding into the seat across from me. I wasn't sure you'd actually show up. Why wouldn't I? I don't know. You seemed hesitant when I asked. I thought maybe you'd back out. I almost did, I admitted. But here I am. We ordered coffee and settled into an easy conversation. Julian told me about his job, his 2 kids from a previous marriage, his love of hiking and old movies. I found myself relaxing, laughing at his stories, enjoying the moment. Can I ask you something personal? Julian said after we'd been talking for about an hour. Sure. Your business card says Thompson, but you're not wearing a wedding ring. I'm guessing recently divorced. Is it that obvious? Only because I've been there. I got divorced 3 years ago and I remember that specific look of someone who's still figuring out who they are as a single person. That's exactly how I feel. Like I've been Brianna's mom and Gregory's wife for so long that I forgot how to just be Simone. It gets easier. And for what it's worth, I think Simone is pretty great just as she is. I felt my face get warm. Thank you. That's nice to hear. We talked for another hour before I reluctantly said I needed to go. I had errands to run before Brianna came home the next day. Can I see you again? Julian asked as we walked out to our cars. I'd like that. How about dinner next week? Nothing fancy, just a chance to talk more. Okay. Yes. Dinner sounds nice. I drove home feeling something I hadn't felt in years, excited about the future. Not anxious, not worried, just genuinely excited to see what might happen. The rest of the weekend passed quickly. I finished my errands, reorganized my closet, and even started looking at paint colors for the bathroom renovation I'd been planning. When I picked up Brianna on Sunday afternoon, she immediately noticed something different. You look happy, she said as we drove home. I am happy. Like happier than usual. Did something happen? I met someone. Just for coffee, nothing serious. But it was nice. Brianna grinned. Mom, that's great. Tell me about him. His name is Julian. He works in tech, he has 2 kids, and he seems really nice. Are you going to see him again? Maybe. We'll see. Good. You deserve to date someone who isn't a jerk like Dad. Brianna. Sorry, but it's true. Dad totally screwed up and you deserve better. I couldn't argue with that logic. Work continued to go well. My team completed a major project ahead of schedule, which impressed not only Rachel but also the company executives. I received an email from the CEO personally thanking me for my work. Simone, your leadership on the Riverside project has been outstanding. The client specifically mentioned how seamless the entire process was, and they credit your team's professionalism and efficiency. Well done. I printed that email and put it in my office. Not to brag, but as a reminder that I was capable and valued. About 2 weeks after my coffee with Julian, we had our dinner date. He took me to a nice Italian restaurant, the kind with candlelight and soft music but not so fancy that it felt pretentious. I have to admit something, Julian said after we'd ordered. I'm a little rusty at this dating thing. Me too. I've been married for 15 years and before that I was dating my ex-husband. I honestly have no idea what I'm doing. Well, we can figure it out together then. Dinner was wonderful. We talked about everything, our jobs, our kids, our divorces, our hopes for the future. Julian was easy to talk to, a good listener, and he made me laugh. When he walked me to my car afterward, there was a moment where I thought he might kiss me but he didn't. I had a really great time tonight, he said instead. Me too. Can I take you out again? Definitely. Over the next few weeks, Julian and I continued seeing each other. Nothing too serious, just dinners and coffee dates, getting to know each other. I appreciated that he didn't rush things or push for more than I was ready to give. I didn't tell Brianna too much about it, not wanting to introduce someone new into her life until I was sure there was something substantial. But she could tell I was happier, lighter. You've been smiling a lot lately, she said one evening as we were making dinner together. Have I? Yeah, it's nice. You should smile more. Meanwhile, Gregory was becoming increasingly difficult. He'd call me at odd hours, show up at the house unannounced, and send long text messages about how we should give our marriage another try. I documented everything and forwarded it all to Patricia. This is bordering on harassment, Patricia said during one of our check-ins. If it continues, we can file for a restraining order. I don't want to do that unless absolutely necessary. He's still Brianna's father. I understand. But you need to protect yourself too. Just keep documenting everything. One Friday evening, about 3 months after the divorce was finalized, Gregory showed up at my door. I'd just gotten home from work and was still in my professional clothes, a maroon dress and heels. Gregory, what are you doing here? I asked, not opening the door fully. I need to talk to you. Can I come in? No. Brianna's at a friend's house and you have no reason to be here. Simone, please. I'm begging you. Give us another chance. We've been through this. The answer is no. Is it because of that guy? Gregory asked, his voice rising. The one you've been seeing? My blood ran cold. How do you know about that? I have friends. People talk. So it's true? You're already dating someone else. What I do with my personal life is none of your business. It is my business when you're introducing him to my daughter. I haven't introduced him to Brianna. And even if I had, that would still be my decision, not yours. I can't believe this. We've barely been divorced and you're already with someone else. You had an affair for 6 months while we were married, Gregory. You don't get to judge me for moving on. That was different. I made a mistake. And I made a choice. The choice to not waste any more time on someone who doesn't respect me. Gregory's face turned red. You think you're so perfect, don't you? You think you're better than me? I think I deserve better than you. There's a difference. Now leave before I call the police. You wouldn't. I pulled out my phone. Try me. Gregory stared at me for a long moment, then turned and walked back to his car. He sat there for a few minutes before finally driving away. I immediately called Patricia and told her what happened. File a police report, she said. Even if they don't do anything, it creates a paper trail. And change your locks. He shouldn't have keys to your house anymore anyway. She was right. That very evening, I called a locksmith and had all the locks changed. It cost more than I wanted to spend, but the peace of mind was worth it. I also called Julian and told him what happened. If things get weirder, I might need to cool things off for a while. I don't want to drag you into my drama. Simone, I'm not going anywhere. Unless you want me to, of course. But a little drama doesn't scare me. You say that now. I mean it. You're dealing with a difficult situation and I respect that. But I also really enjoy spending time with you, and I'm willing to be patient while you figure everything out. That conversation meant more to me than he probably realized. After months of Gregory's manipulation and game playing, having someone who was straightforward and honest felt like breathing fresh air. The next day, I filed a police report about Gregory's visit. The officer who took my statement was sympathetic but realistic. Unless he threatens you directly or damages property, there's not much we can do. But having this report on file helps if things escalate. I understand. I just wanted it documented. Smart move. Keep documenting everything, dates, times, what he says. If you need a restraining order later, this will help. I left the police station feeling both relieved and anxious. I didn't want things to escalate, but I also needed to protect myself and Brianna. That weekend, Brianna was supposed to go to Gregory's, but she called me on Friday night. Mom, can I skip Dad's this weekend? I really don't want to go. What's wrong? He's been acting weird. Asking me all these questions about you, about if you're dating anyone, about what you do when I'm not home. It's uncomfortable. Did you tell him that? Yeah, but he just gets defensive and says he's just curious. But it feels like more than that. Like he's using me to spy on you or something. Okay. I'll talk to him. I called Gregory. Brianna doesn't want to come this weekend. She says you've been making her uncomfortable with questions about me. I'm just trying to stay connected to what's happening in my daughter's life. Asking about my personal life isn't about Brianna. It's about you trying to keep tabs on me, and it needs to stop. So she's just not coming? I'm her father. I have rights. And she's almost 18. She has rights too, including the right to feel comfortable during visitation. If you want her to come, you need to respect her boundaries. Gregory was quiet for a moment. Fine. Tell her I'll stop asking about you. Tell her yourself. And mean it this time. Brianna stayed home that weekend and we had a mother-daughter spa day. Face masks, manicures, movies, and pizza. It was exactly what we both needed. Thanks for backing me up with Dad, Brianna said as we were painting each other's nails. Always. Your comfort and safety come first. Do you think he'll ever accept that you're not getting back together? Eventually. Right now he's still processing everything. But that's his problem, not ours. Life continued to move forward. My team at work took on an even bigger project, one that could potentially bring in millions for the company. Rachel asked me to lead it personally. This is high-profile, Simone. If you pull this off, that VP position is practically guaranteed. I won't let you down. I know you won't. That's why I'm giving it to you. Julian and I continued dating, slowly but steadily. After about 2 months, I finally felt ready to introduce him to Brianna. We kept it casual, just a dinner at home where he could meet her without any pressure. Brianna was nervous beforehand. What if I don't like him? What if he's weird? Then you tell me and we'll figure it out. But I think you'll like him. Julian brought flowers for me and a small gift for Brianna. A book about volleyball techniques that she'd been wanting. That gesture alone won her over. Dinner was surprisingly easy. Julian asked Brianna about school and volleyball, shared funny stories about his own kids, and never tried too hard to impress. By the end of the evening, Brianna was actually laughing at his jokes. After Julian left, Brianna turned to me. Okay, I like him. You can keep him. Oh, I can keep him? That's generous of you. I'm serious. He's nice, he's funny, and he actually listens when you talk. That's pretty different from Dad. I'm glad you approve. I do. You seem really happy when you're with him. I'm happy. Finally. As spring turned to summer, my life felt fuller than it had in years. My career was soaring, my relationship with Julian was developing naturally, and Brianna was preparing for college. Everything was falling into place. Gregory still tried occasionally to contact me, but I'd gotten better at setting boundaries. I only communicated about Brianna's schedule and nothing else. If he tried to veer into personal territory, I simply ended the conversation. One day Nicole and I were having lunch when she brought up how different I seemed. Remember when you first found out about the affair? You were devastated, angry, hurt. Look at you now. You're literally glowing. I feel different. Like I finally figured out who I am outside of being someone's wife. It shows. And I'm proud of you for not taking him back when he begged. Did you think I would? I wasn't sure. A lot of women do. But you stood your ground and look where it got you. She was right. If I'd taken Gregory back, I'd still be trapped in a marriage with someone I couldn't trust. I'd still be wondering when he'd cheat again, still checking bank accounts for hidden money, still living in fear. Instead, I was free. Free to build the life I wanted, to date someone who respected me, to focus on my career and my daughter. Free to be happy. And that freedom was worth more than any marriage ever could be. 6 months after the divorce was finalized, I barely recognized my life. Everything had changed, but this time the change felt intentional, like I was steering my own ship instead of just being a passenger. The big project at work, the one Rachel had entrusted to me, was going incredibly well. We were ahead of schedule and under budget, which almost never happened in my industry. The client was thrilled and the company executives were taking notice. Rachel called me into her office one Tuesday morning. I'd learned that morning meetings with Rachel usually meant either really good news or a crisis. Given her smile, I was hoping for the former. "Sit down, Simone," she said, gesturing to the chair across from her desk. "I have news." "Good news, I hope?" "Very good news. The board met yesterday, and they've decided to create a new position. Vice President of Project Management and Client Relations. And they want you to fill it." I felt my heart start racing. "Are you serious?" "Completely serious. Your work on the Henderson account sealed the deal. They were so impressed that they're recommending our services to 3 other companies in their network. That's over $20 million in potential new business, Simone. All because of your leadership." I don't know what to say. "Say yes. The position comes with a significant salary increase, stock options, and your own team. You'd be reporting directly to me and would have a seat at executive meetings." "When would this start?" "Next month. Which gives you time to transition your current projects and start building your team." I wanted to scream with joy. Instead, I maintained professional composure and said, "Yes. Absolutely yes." Rachel stood up and shook my hand. "Congratulations, Simone. You've earned this." I left her office and immediately texted Julian, "Big news. Can I call you later?" He responded right away, "Everything okay?" "Better than okay. I'll tell you tonight." That evening, Julian took me out to celebrate. We went to a rooftop restaurant with a view of the city skyline, and I told him everything about the promotion. "VP at your age? That's incredible," Julian said, raising his glass. "To Simone Thompson, the most impressive woman I know." "You're just saying that because you like me." "I'm saying it because it's true. And yes, I really like you." We'd been dating for almost 4 months now, and things had progressed naturally. Nothing rushed, nothing forced. Julian had met Brianna several times and they got along well. I'd met his kids, 2 boys aged 12 and 14, who were polite and seemed okay with their dad dating. "Can I ask you something?" Julian said after we'd ordered dessert. "Sure. Where do you see this going?" I'd been thinking about this question a lot lately. Honestly, I'm not sure. I really care about you, but I'm also still figuring out who I am as a single person. I don't want to rush into anything serious. I understand that. And I'm not trying to pressure you. I just wanted to know where your head is at. Where's yours at? Julian smiled. I think you're amazing. I think we have something special. And I'm willing to take this at whatever pace you're comfortable with. Thank you. That means a lot. But Simone, I do see a future here. Whenever you're ready. That conversation stayed with me for days. I liked Julian maybe even more than liked him. But I was also nervous about getting serious with someone so soon after my divorce. What if I was just rebounding? What if I wasn't really ready? I talked about it with Dr. Williams during my next therapy session. "It sounds like you're afraid of making another mistake," she observed. "Isn't that normal? My last relationship ended in disaster." "It's completely normal. But I want you to think about something. Are you comparing Julian to Gregory, or are you actually listening to your own instincts about him?" I thought about that. My instincts say he's a good man. Kind, honest, patient. And has he given you any reason not to trust him? No. He's been nothing but straightforward with me. Then maybe the question isn't whether you should trust him, but whether you trust yourself to make good decisions about relationships. That hit home. My problem wasn't Julian. It was my own fear that I'd somehow missed red flags with Gregory and would miss them again. How do I learn to trust my own judgment again? I asked. By recognizing that you actually did everything right. You built a life, supported your family, and when you discovered the betrayal, you handled it with strength and intelligence. The problem wasn't your judgment. The problem was Gregory's choices. I left that session feeling lighter. Dr. Williams was right. I hadn't done anything wrong. I'd been a good wife, a good mother, a good person. Gregory's affair wasn't my fault. Brianna's college preparations were in full swing. She'd chosen Riverside University and would be leaving in August. We spent weekends shopping for dorm supplies, talking about class schedules, and pretending we weren't both emotional about her leaving. "Are you going to be okay when I'm gone?" Brianna asked one afternoon as we were buying bedding. "I'll miss you like crazy, but yes, I'll be okay. I have work, I have friends, I have Julian." Speaking of Julian, are you guys getting serious? Maybe. We're taking things slow. I like him, Mom. He's good for you. You think so? Definitely. You're happier with him than I ever saw you with Dad, even before everything went bad. That observation surprised me. Really? Really? With Dad, you were always stressed, always trying to make everything perfect. With Julian, you actually relax and have fun. My daughter was wise beyond her years. Gregory had mostly backed off after I'd set firm boundaries, but he still had his moments. One Saturday when he came to pick up Brianna, he tried again. Simone, I heard you got a promotion. Congratulations. Thank you, I said, not inviting further conversation. VP, right? That's impressive. I always knew you were capable of great things. Was there something you needed, Gregory? I just wanted to say I'm proud of you. And I wanted to apologize again for everything. I know I've said it before, but I really am sorry. I appreciate that. Is that all? I've been doing a lot of thinking. About us, about what I threw away. And I realized that letting you go was the biggest mistake of my life. Gregory, we're not having this conversation again. Just hear me out. I've changed. I've been going to therapy, working on myself. I'm a different person now. That's great, truly. But it doesn't change anything between us. Doesn't it? If I've changed, if I can prove that I'm trustworthy now, doesn't that deserve a second chance? No. Because even if you've changed, I've changed too. I've built a life without you and I'm happy. I don't want to go backward. Is this because of that guy you're seeing? This is because I finally realized I deserve better than what you gave me. Brianna came out before Gregory could respond. She gave me a hug and went to her father's car. I watched them drive away, feeling a mix of pity and relief. Pity that Gregory still couldn't accept reality, and relief that I'd been strong enough to stand my ground. That evening, Julian came over for dinner. We cooked together, something we'd started doing regularly. He made pasta while I prepared a salad, and we moved around my kitchen like we'd been doing this for years. Gregory tried the reconciliation speech again today, I said as I chopped vegetables. How'd that go? Same as always. I said no, he didn't want to hear it. Does it bother you? Him trying, I mean. Not really. It's more annoying than anything else. Like he can't accept that I've actually moved on. Julian put down the spoon he was using and turned to face me. Have you? Moved on, I mean. Yes, completely. Why? I just want to make sure you're with me because you want to be, not because you're trying to prove something to your ex. I put down the knife and walked over to him. I'm with you because you make me happy. Because you're kind and honest and you make me laugh. Because when I'm with you, I feel like I can actually breathe. Julian smiled and kissed me softly. Good. Because I really like breathing with you. That night, after dinner and after Julian left, I sat on my back porch with a glass of wine and thought about how far I'd come. A year ago, I'd been married to a man who was cheating on me, working at a job I liked but not loving, and living a life that looked perfect but felt empty. Now, I was a VP, I had a man who respected me, my daughter was thriving, and I was genuinely happy. Not pretend happy. Not making the best of it happy. Actually truly happy. My phone buzzed with a text from Nicole. Coffee tomorrow? Definitely, I texted back. The next day Nicole and I met at our favorite cafe. She took one look at me and laughed. What? I asked. You're glowing. Like actually glowing. Things with Julian must be going well. They are. It's scary how well they're going. Why is it scary? Because I keep waiting for something to go wrong. For him to turn out to be secretly terrible or something. That's just your trauma talking. Julian is a good guy. Let yourself be happy. I'm happy. That's what scares me. Nicole reached across the table and squeezed my hand. You deserve this, Simone. After everything you've been through, you deserve to be happy with someone who treats you right. I know. I'm working on accepting that. Good. Because if you sabotage this relationship because you're afraid, I'll have to knock some sense into you. I laughed. Deal. Work continued to be amazing. My new role as VP came with challenges, but I loved every minute of it. I built a team of talented project managers, implemented new systems, and watched our client satisfaction ratings soar. One afternoon, I was in a meeting with Rachel and some other executives when the CEO joined us unexpectedly. Sorry to interrupt, he said. But I wanted to personally thank Simone for her work on the Henderson account. They just signed a 5-year contract extension worth $35 million, and they specifically cited Simone's leadership as the reason. Everyone in the room turned to look at me. I felt my face get hot. Thank you, I managed to say. I have a great team supporting me. Well, keep doing what you're doing. This is the kind of growth we need. After the CEO left, Rachel grinned at me. You're making us all look good, Simone. Just doing my job. You're doing a lot more than that. And people are noticing. That evening, I picked up Brianna from volleyball practice and told her about the CEO's visit. Mom, that's incredible. You're basically running the company. Not quite, but I'm definitely making an impact. I'm proud of you. You know that, right? I do. And I'm proud of you too. You're killing it at school, you're going to an amazing college, and you're handling everything with the divorce so maturely. I learned from the best, Brianna said, hugging me. As August approached and Brianna's departure for college loomed, I found myself getting emotional at random moments. My baby was leaving. She was starting her own life, and while I was excited for her, I was also sad for me. Julian noticed my mood one evening when we were watching a movie. You okay? Just thinking about Brianna leaving. The house is going to feel so empty. That's a big adjustment. But you know what? It might also be an opportunity. For what? To figure out what you want the next chapter of your life to look like. You've spent 17 years being a mom and you'll always be a mom, but now you get to decide what else you want to be. I haven't thought about it like that. Well, think about it. What do you want, Simone? Not for Brianna, not for your job, just for you. That question stayed with me for days. What did I want? I wanted to keep growing in my career. I wanted to travel more. I wanted to deepen my relationship with Julian. I wanted to maybe, eventually, not be scared of love anymore. But most of all, I wanted to keep being this version of myself. Strong, independent, happy. The version that had emerged from the ashes of my failed marriage like a phoenix. Actually, scratch that. Not like a phoenix. Because I hadn't risen from ashes. I'd walked out of a situation that wasn't serving me and built something better. That was even more powerful than rebirth. That was transformation by choice. And I was just getting started. The end of August arrived faster than I wanted. Brianna's dorm room was packed, the car was loaded, and we were ready for the 2-hour drive to Riverside University. Julian had offered to come with us, but I gently declined. This felt like something Brianna and I needed to do alone, just the two of us. The drive was quiet at first. Brianna stared out the window, and I could see her wiping away occasional tears. I reached over and squeezed her hand. You're going to love it, I said. New friends, new experiences, complete freedom. What if I don't? What if I hate it and want to come home? Then you come home. But you won't. You're ready for this. Are you ready for me to leave? I took a deep breath. No. But that's okay. Parents are never ready for their kids to grow up. We arrived at campus around noon and spent the next few hours getting Brianna settled into her dorm. Her roommate, a girl named Sophie from upstate, seemed nice. They bonded immediately over their shared love of some band I'd never heard of. When it was time for me to leave, Brianna walked me back to my car. We stood there in the parking lot, both trying not to cry. Call me if you need anything, I said. Anything at all. I can be here in 2 hours. I know, Mom. I'll be fine. I love you so much, baby. I love you too. We hugged for a long time, and when we finally pulled apart, we were both crying. I got in my car and waved as I drove away, watching Brianna get smaller in my rearview mirror until I couldn't see her anymore. The drive home was lonely. I called Nicole, who talked to me the whole way to keep me from breaking down. It's going to be weird at first, Nicole said. But you'll adjust. And think of all the things you can do now. You can walk around naked, eat ice cream for dinner, have Julian stay over without worrying about Brianna. That last one made me laugh. I haven't even thought about that. Well, start thinking about it. You're entering a new phase of life, Simone. Enjoy it. When I got home, the house felt impossibly empty. Brianna's bedroom door was closed and I couldn't bring myself to open it. Instead, I went to my own room, changed into comfortable clothes, and sat on my bed staring at nothing. My phone rang. Julian. How'd it go? He asked. It was hard. Really hard. Want some company? Actually, yes. That would be nice. Julian came over an hour later with takeout from my favorite Thai restaurant. We ate on the couch and I told him all about dropping Brianna off, how grown up she looked, how scared I was that she wouldn't need me anymore. She'll always need you, Julian said. Just in different ways now. I know. It's just an adjustment. Well, you don't have to adjust alone. I'm here. That night, Julian stayed over for the first time. Nothing dramatic happened. We just watched movies, talked, and fell asleep on the couch together. But when I woke up the next morning and saw him there, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Contentment. The first week without Brianna was strange. I kept setting 2 places at dinner out of habit. I'd think I heard her coming down the stairs. But slowly I started to adjust. I called her every day and she assured me she was having a great time. Mom, you can stop worrying. I'm fine. I made like 5 new friends already and my classes are actually interesting. Okay. I'll try to relax. Good. Because you need to focus on your own life now. How's Julian? He's good. We're good. Have you guys said the L word yet? Brianna. What? It's been like 6 months. That's a reasonable timeline. We're taking things slow. Sometimes slow is too slow, Mom. Just saying. After we hung up, I thought about that conversation. Brianna was right. Julian and I had been dating for 6 months. We spent most of our free time together. We'd met each other's kids. We were basically in a committed relationship. So why hadn't we said those 3 words? Because I was scared. Scared of being vulnerable again, scared of trusting completely, scared of getting hurt. But was that fair to Julian? Or to myself? I decided to talk to Dr. Williams about it during my next session. It sounds like you're ready to take the next step but you're afraid, she said. That's exactly it. How do I get past the fear? By recognizing that fear is normal but it shouldn't control you. You can acknowledge that you're scared while still choosing to be brave. What if I'm wrong about him? What if he turns out to be like Gregory? What if he doesn't? What if he's exactly who he appears to be? A kind, honest man who cares about you. You can't let one bad experience prevent you from having good ones. That session gave me a lot to think about. I'd been so focused on protecting myself that I hadn't fully opened up to the possibility of real love. Not the desperate, clinging love I'd had with Gregory at the end, but real, healthy, mutual love. A few days later, Julian and I were having dinner at his place. His kids were with their mom for the weekend, so we had the house to ourselves. We'd cooked together, something we both enjoyed, and were now sitting on his back deck watching the sunset. Can I ask you something? I said. Always. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Julian thought about it. Career-wise, probably about where I am now. I like my job and I don't feel the need to climb any higher. Personal life? I'd like to be in a committed relationship, maybe married again eventually. I'd like to travel more. What about you? I think I'd like all of those things too. The relationship, the travel. I'm not sure about marriage though. Because of what happened with Gregory? Partly. But also because I'm finally comfortable being on my own. I don't want to lose that. You know, being in a relationship doesn't mean losing yourself, right? With the right person, you can be independent and together at the same time. Is that what we are? Together? I'd like to think so. But maybe we should make it official. My heart started racing. Official how? Julian took my hand. Simone Thompson, will you officially be my girlfriend? I laughed. Are we in middle school? Just answer the question. Yes. I'll officially be your girlfriend. Good. Because I'm falling in love with you, and I wanted to make sure we were on the same page first. There it was. The L word. And instead of being scared, I felt happy. I'm falling in love with you too, I said. And that terrifies me, but in a good way. Julian kissed me, and for the first time in a long time, I let myself feel everything without holding back. Work continued to be incredible. My team had just landed another major account, and Rachel was hinting at even more opportunities on the horizon. The board is talking about expanding our services, she told me during one of our weekly meetings. If we do, you'd be heading up that entire division. That's huge. It is. And it's all because of the foundation you've built. You've proven that investing in strong leadership pays off. I left that meeting feeling proud of what I'd accomplished. A year ago, I'd been dealing with a cheating husband and a crumbling marriage. Now I was a VP with a team that respected me, a boyfriend who loved me, and a daughter thriving at college. Gregory had mostly faded into the background of my life. He still had his visitation with Brianna during breaks, and she'd occasionally mention him in passing, but he no longer dominated my thoughts or my emotional energy. One afternoon, I got a call from Brianna. She sounded upset. Mom, something weird happened. What's wrong? Dad called me and asked if I'd talk to you about giving him another chance. He said he's been working on himself and he's ready to be a better husband. I felt anger flare up. What did you tell him? I told him that's between you and him and I'm not getting involved. But Mom, he was crying. He sounded really desperate. That's not your problem, baby. And I'm sorry he put you in that position. That's not fair to you. I know. I just feel bad for him. He seems really sad. He's sad because he's facing the consequences of his choices. But that doesn't mean I should save him from those consequences. I get it. I just wanted to tell you in case he tries to contact you directly. Thank you for the heads up. And Brianna? Don't feel guilty about this. You didn't cause any of this and it's not your responsibility to fix it. After we hung up, I sent Gregory a text. Stop asking Brianna to intervene in our relationship. She's your daughter, not your messenger. If you have something to say to me, say it directly, but know that my answer will still be no. He didn't respond, which was probably for the best. That weekend Julian and I took a trip to a cabin in the mountains. It was our first overnight trip together, and I was nervous but excited. The cabin was beautiful, secluded, with a view of a lake and mountains. We spent our days hiking, cooking, and just being together. No phones, no work, no distractions. On our last night there, we were sitting by the fireplace when Julian said, I need to tell you something. Okay, I said, feeling nervous. I love you. Not falling in love. I love you. Completely. And I know we said we'd take things slow, and I'm fine with that, but I wanted you to know where I stand. I felt tears forming. I love you too. And I'm scared to say it, but I do. Why are you scared? Because the last time I loved someone this much, he destroyed me. And I'm terrified of going through that again. Simone, look at me. I met his eyes. I can't promise that I'll never hurt you or that we'll never have problems. But I can promise that I'll never lie to you, I'll never cheat on you, and I'll never intentionally break your trust. You deserve that kind of love, and I want to be the one to give it to you. You already have, I whispered. That night felt like a turning point. I finally let go of the fear I'd been carrying and allowed myself to fully trust Julian. And it felt amazing. When we got back from the trip, I felt like a different person. More open, more willing to be vulnerable, more ready to embrace whatever came next. Brianna noticed immediately when she came home for fall break. Mom, you're like seriously happy. It's kind of weird but also really nice. Is it that obvious? You're humming while doing dishes. Yeah, it's obvious. Things with Julian must be going well. They really are. Good. You deserve it. After everything with Dad, you deserve someone who makes you this happy. That Thanksgiving, I hosted dinner at my house for the first time since the divorce. I invited Julian and his kids, Nicole and her family, and of course Brianna. It was loud and chaotic and absolutely perfect. As I looked around my table at all these people I loved, I realized something. I'd built a new family. Not to replace the old one, but to create something different and beautiful. Gregory wasn't there, and that was okay. He was part of my past, but he didn't define my future. After dinner, everyone was in the living room watching football, and I stepped outside for a moment. The air was crisp and cold, and the stars were incredibly bright. Julian came out a few minutes later and wrapped his arms around me from behind. You okay? He asked. Better than okay. I'm happy. Really, truly happy. Good. Because you deserve to be. We stood there together, looking up at the stars, and I thought about the journey that had brought me here. The pain, the anger, the fear, the healing, the growth. All of it had been necessary to become this version of myself. And I wouldn't change a thing. A year had passed since I discovered Gregory's affair. 365 days of rebuilding, healing, and growing into the person I was always meant to be. It was a Saturday morning in late February, and I was getting ready for a big event. I'd been invited to speak at a women's conference about leadership, resilience, and finding strength in difficult times. When they'd first asked me, I'd been hesitant. I wasn't sure I wanted to share my story publicly. But Rachel had encouraged me. Your journey could help other women, she'd said. And it's good visibility for the company. So I'd agreed, and now here I was, standing in front of my mirror in a bright blue dress, practicing my speech one more time. Julian knocked on my bedroom door. You ready? We should leave soon. Almost. I'm nervous. You're going to be great. You're a VP who rebuilt her entire life in a year. You've got this. He was right. I did have this. The conference was being held at a hotel downtown. When we arrived, I was surprised by how many people were there. Hundreds of women filled the ballroom, all there to learn, connect, and support each other. I sat through the morning sessions, listening to other women share their stories of overcoming adversity. There was a woman who'd started her own business after being laid off. Another who'd gone back to school at 50. A third who'd escaped an abusive relationship and was now a successful therapist. Then it was my turn. I walked onto the stage, looked out at all those faces, and took a deep breath. A little over a year ago, I came home from a business trip and found my husband crying. My daughter didn't know why. But when I checked our home security cameras, I discovered he'd been having an affair. In that moment, my entire world shattered. Everything I thought I knew about my life, my marriage, my future was gone. I paused, letting that sink in. But here's what I learned. Sometimes things have to fall apart before they can come together in a better way. That day wasn't the end of my story. It was the beginning of a new chapter, one where I got to decide who I wanted to be. For the next 30 minutes I told my story. I talked about the pain, the anger, the fear. But I also talked about the strength I found, the boundaries I set, the career I built. I talked about learning to trust myself again, about opening my heart to new love, about discovering that I was enough all on my own. When I finished, the room erupted in applause. Women stood up, some crying, some smiling, all showing their support. I felt overwhelmed with emotion. During the break, several women came up to me to share their own stories. One woman grabbed my hand and said, "Thank you. I've been thinking about leaving my husband for a year, but I was too scared. After hearing you, I think I'm ready." "You can do it," I told her. "It won't be easy, but you're stronger than you think." Another woman, probably in her 60s, hugged me and said, "I wish I'd had your courage when I was younger. I stayed in a bad marriage for 30 years because I didn't think I could make it on my own. Hearing your story gives me hope for my daughter, that she won't make the same mistakes I did." Those conversations stayed with me long after the conference ended. That evening, Julian took me out to celebrate. We went to a nice restaurant, the kind with tablecloths and multiple forks, and he ordered champagne. "To the most inspiring woman I know," he said, raising his glass. "You're biased." "Absolutely. But I'm also right." We clinked glasses and I took a sip, savoring the moment. A year ago, I never could have imagined I'd be here, this happy, this content, this confident. "Can I ask you something?" Julian said after we'd ordered. "Of course. Move in with me." I nearly choked on my champagne. "What?" "Move in with me. Or I'll move in with you. I don't care which. But I want to wake up with you every morning and go to bed with you every night. I want to build a life together." "Julian, that's a big step." "I know. But we've been together for almost a year. We love each other. Our kids get along. It feels like the natural next step." I thought about it. Really thought about it. A year ago, the idea of living with someone would have terrified me. But now it felt exciting. "Okay," I said. "Okay. Yes, let's do it. But I think you should move into my place. Brianna's already settled there, and it's bigger." Julian grinned. "Really? You're sure?" "I'm sure. I love you and I want to build a life with you." He reached across the table and kissed me. "You have no idea how happy you just made me." Over the next few weeks, we made plans for Julian to move in. His lease was up in 2 months, which gave us time to figure out logistics. Brianna was supportive when I told her. "That's great, Mom. I really like Julian. And his kids are cool. You're okay with this? With him moving into our house?" "Mom, it stopped being just our house a long time ago. It's your house and you should fill it with whoever makes you happy." My wise daughter. Work continued to be amazing. The new division I'd been tasked with creating was taking shape, and we'd already signed 2 major clients. Rachel pulled me aside one day with a big smile. "The board approved your budget increase. You can hire 3 more team members." "That's fantastic." "It is. You've built something really special here, Simone. The board is talking about you as a potential COO candidate in the next few years." Oh, Chief Operating Officer. That was executive level, the kind of position I'd never even dared to dream about. I don't know what to say. Say you'll keep doing what you're doing. That's all we need. One Saturday afternoon in early April, I was working in my garden when I heard someone at my front door. I wasn't expecting anyone. Julian had taken his boys to a baseball game and Brianna was at school. I walked around to the front of the house and froze. Rebecca was standing on my porch. She looked terrible. Her hair was messy, she'd lost weight, and she had dark circles under her eyes. She was wearing sweatpants and a t-shirt, nothing like the polished woman I'd seen in the security footage a year ago. "Simone," she said when she saw me, "please, I need to talk to you. You need to leave my property. Please. Just 5 minutes. That's all I'm asking." Against my better judgment, I stayed where I was. "You have 2 minutes? Talk." I wanted to apologize. For everything. I know it's too late, and I know sorry doesn't fix anything, but I needed you to know that I regret what I did. "Okay. You said it. Now leave." "I lost everything," Rebecca continued, tears streaming down her face. "My marriage, my job, my kids barely speak to me. Gregory won't return my calls. I have nothing left. And you think I care about that? No. I wanted you to know that karma is real. I thought I could have it all, and instead I lost everything. You were right to stand up for yourself. I wish I'd been that strong." I looked at this broken woman on my porch and felt nothing. Not satisfaction, not pity, not anger. Just nothing. "I hope you figure out your life," I said. "But I need you to leave and never come back. I've moved on, and I don't want any reminders of that time in my life. Rebecca nodded and turned to walk away. I watched her get into an old beat-up car and drive off. Then I pulled out my phone and checked my security cameras, scrolling back to when she'd first arrived. There she was on camera, walking up to my door, looking desperate and lost. I watched for a moment, then deleted the footage. I didn't need it. I didn't need any evidence of her existence. She was gone and I was moving forward. I went back to my garden and continued planting flowers. Bright red roses, yellow daisies, purple irises. Colors that made me happy. My phone rang. It was Gregory. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity got the better of me. "What do you want, Gregory?" Rebecca showed up at my apartment. She was a mess, crying and begging me to take her back. "Did she come to your house too?" "Yes. I told her to leave." "I did the same thing. I wanted to let you know in case she tries to cause problems." "She won't. She's broken, Gregory. Whatever you two had, it destroyed her." "It almost destroyed me too," he said quietly. "Losing you was the worst thing that ever happened to me." "Then you shouldn't have cheated." "I know. I've said I'm sorry a million times, but I'll say it again. I'm sorry, Simone. For all of it. I appreciate that. I do. But it doesn't change anything." "I know. I just wanted you to hear it one more time. I hope you're happy." "I am. Very happy." "Good. You deserve that." We hung up, and I realized that was probably the last real conversation Gregory and I would ever have. He was moving on, I was moving on, and that was how it should be. Julian came home from the baseball game that evening with his boys, all of them excited about the home team's win. We ordered pizza and watched movies, this blended family that we were building together. After the boys went to bed, Julian and I sat on the back porch, looking up at the stars. "Good day?" he asked. "Interesting day." Rebecca showed up. "What? Why?" I told him about the visit, about her apology, about how I'd felt nothing. "How do you feel now?" Julian asked. "I feel free. Like that was the last piece of the past that I needed to let go of. She's gone, Gregory's accepted that we're done, and I can fully focus on the future." "Our future," Julian said, taking my hand. "Our future," I agreed. A few weeks later, Julian officially moved in. The boys stayed with us every other week, and when Brianna came home for summer break, the house was full of life and noise and laughter. It wasn't always perfect. We had to figure out new routines, navigate parenting styles, manage schedules. But it worked because we communicated, because we respected each other, because we were building something together. One evening in late June, I was sitting in my home office catching up on some work when I heard a knock. Brianna poked her head in. "Hey Mom, can we talk?" "Always. What's up?" She came in and sat down. "I've been thinking a lot about everything that happened with you and Dad. And I wanted to tell you something." "Okay. You're like my hero. The way you handled everything, the way you stood up for yourself and didn't take him back even when he begged. The way you built this amazing career and found Julian and just became this incredible person. I want to be like that when I grow up." I felt tears forming. "Baby, you're already like that. You're strong and smart and brave. I learned it from you." We hugged and I thought about how lucky I was. Not just because I'd survived a divorce, but because I'd raised a daughter who understood the importance of self-respect and strength. In August, Brianna went back to college for her sophomore year. This time the goodbye was easier. I knew she'd be home for breaks, knew she'd call regularly, knew she was thriving. Work continued to exceed all expectations. My division brought in over $50 million in new business that year. Rachel sat me down in September with big news. "The board wants to make you COO. It's official. You'd start in January." "Rachel, I don't know what to say." "Say yes. You've earned this, Simone. You've built something incredible, and we want you to help lead this entire company." "Then yes. Absolutely yes." That evening I told Julian the news. He picked me up and spun me around. "Cool. That's amazing. I'm so proud of you. It's crazy, right? 2 years ago I was just a project manager dealing with a cheating husband. Now I'm going to be COO. It's not crazy. It's what you deserve. You worked hard, you believed in yourself, and you made it happen." We celebrated with champagne and dancing in the kitchen to old music. At one point, Julian got down on one knee and my heart stopped. "Relax," he said, laughing. "I'm just tying my shoe. When I actually propose, you'll know it's coming." "You're terrible," I said, laughing. "But you love me anyway." "I really do." As fall turned to winter, I reflected on how much had changed in 2 years. 2 years ago, I discovered my husband's affair and my world had fallen apart. Now I had A career I loved, with a COO position starting in January, a man who loved and respected me, a daughter who was thriving at college, financial security, peace of mind, genuine happiness. The security cameras that had revealed Gregory's betrayal still recorded everything in my house. Sometimes I'd check them out of habit, making sure everything was secure. But I wasn't looking for betrayal anymore. I was just looking after my home. One cold December evening, I was alone in the house. Julian was with his kids for the week, Brianna was at school, and I had the place to myself. I made tea, wrapped myself in a blanket, and sat in my living room, the same room where everything had started 2 years ago. I pulled up the security camera app on my phone and scrolled through footage from today. There was me leaving for work this morning. Me coming home this evening. Nothing dramatic, just life. I thought about that day 2 years ago when I checked these cameras and found footage that destroyed my marriage. In a way, those cameras had saved me. If I hadn't had that proof, I might have believed Gregory's lies. I might have taken him back. Instead, I'd taken back my power. My phone buzzed. It was Julian. Missing you. Can't wait until you're home. I smiled and texted back. I am home. But I miss you too. See you tomorrow? Definitely. Love you. Love you too. I put my phone down and looked around my living room. This house had been the scene of betrayal, but it had also been the foundation for my rebuilding. These walls had witnessed my tears and my triumphs. This was where I'd learned to be strong. And this was where I'd learned that sometimes the worst thing that happens to you can actually be the best thing, because it forces you to become who you were always meant to be. I'd come full circle. From devastation to determination to triumph. From broken to rebuilt to thriving. And I was never going back.